welcome back, guys. Our second episode after a while. To remind you guys, I'm Joe Stafford, Pat Sr., and another new member, Spencer Smith. He was on the original cast, couldn't make the first episode, but now that we're all back at school, we finally have time to do it. So welcome back, boys. We're going to jump right into it. Antonio Brown decides to throw a tantrum, gets released from the Raiders, and joins the New England Patriots. What are your initial reactions?
I'm happy as a Pats fan. As a football fan, I think it's definitely interesting. You see, I think it's an example of, it's kind of a players' league. Players have the power. I know a lot of people don't like it when a player throws a tantrum and they think he's trying to just get out of it, go to the Patriots, conspiracy, whatever. But, it's a player-driven league. They're the ones who people pay to watch. They're the ones who they make the money. So at the end of the day, I think it's kind of good for the NFL the players are kind of getting out there, kind of doing what they want to do. I like the move.
So initial thoughts were that Antonio Brown now is probably closer to Kevin Durant in terms of joining a winner than what we've seen in any other sport. This is, unique. It's not something we're probably going to see again for a while in terms of a player of his caliber. Just dipping and joining the greatest franchise in NFL history, going through the greatest run in NFL history. I mean, for us, we're biased and we think it's great, but sure a lot of people out there have a lot of hard feelings towards him, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
The funny thing I think is too how quickly Pittsburgh Steelers fans' opinions changed on Antonio Brown, because he throws a fit week 16 or 17 last season. The whole ordeal goes on with him getting traded to Oakland. He goes through the whole helmet thing and throws a tantrum, burns his feet, or ices his feet, I should say. And then finally the saga ends with him going to New England. But the funny thing is, Steelers were so confident they won that trade, and they did win the trade anyway. They won the trade regardless because he's not
Raiders
on the
got
team
nothing.
anymore.
Yeah.
Raiders got 2 picks, a third and a fifth, I think, something like that.
Fifth.
Yeah.
So they still won the trade, but now they have to deal with Antonio Brown going to the New England Patriots. From what I saw, I was there opening night. From what I saw from the Steelers, they're not doing anything anyway. Ben Roethlisberger looked fat. He looked fat. He had no idea what was going on. We rushed 3 the whole game, and he was flustered. He looked old. Tom Brady's 42. Ben Roethlisberger significantly younger than Tom Brady, yet he's showing almost all the signs that Brady should be showing, but he's not. And I think that just shows how wonderfully Tom Brady is taking care of his body and how Ben Roethlisberger just has. He just has not taken care of himself at all, and it's finally coming home to roost. So it's good to see as a Pats fan.
In Ben's defense, he is good. I mean, he's still a Hall of Famer, multiple Super Bowls. But
no thanks to Mike Tomlin.
It's just long, and
that's for sure.
Not his fault he was stuck with Mike Tomlin. And I mean, he had Cowherd for a year and they won. But it just shows how lucky we are to be Patriots fans and to witness greatness, to see Brady and Belichick every single year. No nonsense, all business, the same thing every single year. Sometimes you can't even put it into words. It's just something you never
crazy. It's crazy.
Everything that's happened. It's like a fairy tale.
It is a fairy tale.
I think it's also less a knock on Big Ben, because I think it's kind of you're seeing with him the normal progression of quarterbacks. They reach a certain age, they gradually fall apart. It's no secret that he's not the most healthy guy, obviously. But you see Brady. Brady's just really the exception. It's not like everybody's doing what he's doing. It's more of a testament to the innovation really that he's brought with him to taking care of his body and preserving preserving his body and kind of working towards maintaining his level of greatness for so long. It's just it's really unprecedented.
So obviously when the signing happened, people automatically jumped to Randy Moss. They wanted to compare Randy Moss and Antonio Brown signing with the Patriots, or being acquired by the Patriots.
I did the same, yeah.
And there are some similarities, but let's be clear here. It's not the same situation. Randy Moss was traded from Minnesota to Oakland, played 1 or 2 terrible seasons there, and was traded to New England. And that was a very normal acquisition at the time. Antonio Brown decided to throw a tantrum, a 4-day, 5-day absolute nightmare for the Oakland Raiders organization, to force his release and then to sign with the best organization of football. That's a very big difference. Now, they're the same type of caliber player. Randy Moss is obviously, probably, in my opinion, the number 2 receiver all time, behind the only Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
and Antonio Brown is probably the number one receiver in the league right now. It can be debated. I know I'm seeing your face right now, but the talent is there. It's almost undeniable.
Mm-hmm. Right, for sure.
Randy Moss was crazy. Antonio Brown's a clown. I can still say that.
Coincide.
I can still say that. I'm still supporting him. I love the move still, but I can still say he's a clown. And there's a very big difference I wanted to highlight there. Randy Moss is not the same player as Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown's not the same man that Randy Moss is. They both prepare like crazy, and they're both all guys.
Correct.
But it's not the same move. I was just so sick of seeing so many comparisons saying that there was.
Well, that's what they do. It's comparisons and, false expectations and false projections. You hear it every week with Max Kellerman running his mouth saying that Brady's going to fall off the cliff, and here we are 4 years later. Nothing's changed. The beat goes on. It's the same thing. Antonio Brown is coming into a new franchise where, like we've mentioned many times, it's no nonsense, all business. He would not have signed here if he didn't understand the ramifications of what he's doing. In terms of money, in terms of playing, in terms of hard work, in terms of the long, grueling season that this is going to be. I mean, this team is, in my opinion, I guarantee we'll be playing in the divisional round and get a bye. And we're probably going to be playing the AFC title game again. All right, I don't want to put a projection on this team. We've only seen 1 week. I don't care who we are. We'll see how it falls out. But, people who overreact, it's really not that big of a deal. If anything, it's just a win. And people are acting like it's a loss. It's not going to be a clown show anymore in New England. Oakland is, John Gruden, Mark Davis, and even having Hard Knocks there in the first place, like, you're asking for it. You're really asking for it.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, so obviously with Antonio Brown being acquired by the Patriots, a natural question arose. Does this move prompt the great Rob Gronkowski to come back out of retirement? So August 27th, my birthday, he had a press conference announcing his partnership with the CBD medical company. Great move for him, I think, personally. And he went on ESPN the next day, and he almost cried, talking about how he's suffered so many injuries and how he suffered almost like 20 concussions, 5 blackout ones, and how his body was just in shreds. I understand that. Then he went on Pardon My Take and refuted almost everything he said on ESPN by saying he might come back week 14. This is a take by Ride the Wave Media's own Spike King. It is worth talking about. Gronk has a CBD partnership. That's a 4-game suspension in the NFL regardless, because the new CBA hasn't kicked in yet. Right. He's required to get off of retirement by week 10. Week 10, Gronk will announce his coming out of retirement, and then he'll be suspended 4 games for medical marijuana. He comes back, week 15? Yeah, it's week 15?
Yep.
He can sit out 1 game, get back to getting into football shape, play 1.5 game maybe. He won't be playing week 17. He has a bye week, and then he plays 3 playoff games, presumably. Mm-hmm. That is the best case scenario ever for Rob Gronkowski wanting to come out of retirement. Because 1, he'll be in single coverage the whole damn time because they don't have enough corners to defend anybody on our team. And 2, he won't be hit a lot. He won't be hit a lot because he'll be wide open or will be in single coverage, which we know he'll be. And by judging off what we've seen from him at the banner dropping, where he was shirtless, he looks ripped. I think he'll go more towards a type of runner receiver type guy, and then just fall down before he gets hit. And I think this is the best case. If Rob Gronkowski's going to come back, it's going to be this year.
Personally, I think it's interesting, obviously, to follow because who wouldn't love to see Gronk back on the field, especially as a Patriots fan. But obviously, you said there's some stuff that happened on ESPN, then Pardon My Take. Personally, I just don't see it happening just because I think he's reached the point where he doesn't really feel like he has anything left to gain from the game. Like, yeah, it's cool to add another ring to your title, maybe more stats, ring to your resume, rather. At the end of the day, how much is it going to make him, personally feel gratified? Like he said, he wasn't getting anything out of the game anymore. So I think if there's no personal stake in there for him, like if he didn't have anything left to prove, he went out on top. I don't think there's a point in him coming back and trying to risk getting hurt.
Looking at the weeks here, the potential weeks Gronk could come back if he does, and it would be for legacy and not just himself, more for the team, more for winning with Brady while he's still here, because they know it's greatness. They know this is it. these last couple of years are all the marbles in terms of winning for Brady, because we got to enjoy him. I mean, we've enjoyed him for 20 years, but I'd say 23, 24 is going to be his cutoff at this point. I don't know. But regardless, weeks 8 through 15, the Patriots have a gauntlet to go through. A lot of games on the road here. We're at home against the Browns week 8, in Baltimore for Sunday Night Football week 9, then a bye week 10, then in Philly, at home against the Cowboys, and then at the Texans in week 13, then at home against the Chiefs. So if he comes back anywhere in between there, I'll be very confident in this team's ability to win 13-plus games. 14-2 maybe.
I honestly can see us going 19-0, and I don't really have a problem saying that just because of how deep we are on both sides of the ball. We talked about the offense this entire segment. Antonio Brown added to an already stacked receiving core. Josh Gordon, big play, Philip Dorsett, Julian Edelman, Jacoby Myers. It's just so deep, it's going to be tough for anybody to cover it. And our running back stable is obviously well known throughout the league as being one of the NFL's elites. Our defense is one of the most underrated units in the NFL, and I do believe it'll be a top 3 defense by the end of the season. Gilmore is a top 3 corner, if not the best corner in the league. Devin McCourty has been a staple of the Patriots defense and a leader. He holds the back end down. Patrick Chung, yes, Patrick Chung's still playing. Don't worry, he hasn't gone to jail yet. Plays that nice safety linebacker role. Daron Harmon can roam the field. Michael Bennett, Dietrich Wise, Chase Winovich, and our linebacking core, Dante Hightower, Jawan Bentley, Jamie Collins, and Kyle Van Noy. That might be the fastest linebacking core outside of Dallas, because Dallas is a whole different ballgame because they have probably the best linebacking core in the league right now.
And very young, too. Yep.
Very young, too. But what I'm saying is, what hole do we have? But I would say maybe up the middle in our D-line is the only hole we have. I really can't.
It's not even a major hole,
It's not even a major hole. And maybe center, maybe with David Andrews going down with blood clots. That's a terrible thing, too. We all hope he recovers soon. He's a great guy and a great player for this organization. But Ted Karras didn't do a great job replacing him. He didn't let up a sack or anything, but the snaps were slow, they were high, and it takes away from Brady's ability to scan the field, because if he's worried about the snap, that's an extra second he takes off the ball, because on average he throws around between 1.7 and 2.5 seconds after he gets the ball. But he can't scan the field that quickly if he doesn't have the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
They need to work on that. I'm sure they worked on it all during the week to prepare for Miami. I just hope we see improvement out of that. But besides the center position, we are stacked.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the best rosters we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah,
I think it's reminiscent of the early dynasty teams, especially with the strong defense.
Yep. I would agree. So we're going to move on a little bit from Patriots and on to somewhat other NFL news. The Thursday night football game between the Panthers and the Buccaneers was one to be forgotten because it was just a terrible game. I think it ended 20-14. Christian McCaffrey was shut down. Jameis Winston was very average. The only player I could really think that had an impact on that game was Chris Godwin. He had like 8 receptions for $130 and a touchdown, and we were all expecting that anyway because he's been named as a breakout candidate all off season. But what I want to talk about from that game and from the game before that is Cam Newton. Cam Newton is 0-2 this season. He's not alone. There'll be a lot of 0-2 teams after Sunday. But let's look at his stats. 55.7 completion percentage for a veteran. Not a good look. 563 passing yards. No touchdowns. 1 interception. Before this season, Cam Newton had never been held without positive rushing yards in the game. On the season this year, 5 rushes, -2 yards. What is going on with Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers?
I'd like to say it's a mental thing, but I think we also saw last season and this offseason with his shoulder. He was having a lot of issues where he couldn't even throw the ball. And Ron Rivera making him throw 51 passes on against the Buccaneers when you have it just doesn't add up. Why would you have this guy who's going through shoulder issues and obviously isn't playing at his best right now? He's obviously not healthy. Why would you make him push himself like that? I think it's both mentally and physically. Cam Newton's really just not there right now. I think he needs time off. He needs to be on away from the field.
So my point is that this is not something that happened right away, and this is something that we've seen over the last couple seasons, but people aren't really paying attention. I'll name a number of things that go in Cam Newton's favor. Tough division. You have to play competitive football all year, and the entire NFC, let alone the NFC South. His team, the Carolina Panthers, they are not a good football team.
I don't really think Cam Newton's got much going for him in terms of I don't know where he's going to go from here. He's had a rough couple seasons ever since we all know his MVP season was phenomenal. Maybe arguably one of the best seasons we've seen individually from one player.
I think it's undeniable. I think it's undeniable that he had one of the best seasons of all time in 2015. But besides that season, excluding that season,
he's been mediocre. He's been middle of the line.
Mediocre. He's been an average quarterback in this league, and I don't understand why people overhype him to the point where he's considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
No.
I don't understand the comparison there because he's a running quarterback and he has a handful of decent throws every game, but he doesn't win a lot. He doesn't win a lot.
He's never been a winner. I mean, 15-1. You could say a lot of things happened that year. The good defense, easier schedule, kind of like the Cowboys when they went 13-3 a couple years ago. They got to the Super Bowl. I never seen that kind of drive out of Cam Newton where he has gone forth and won a game just through sheer force of will. He's not. I don't think he's proven that he's a winner. He's been in the playoffs a handful of times. Hasn't really had any phenomenal, memorable performances that make me go, "Oh yeah, I remember this game. Cam Newton did this in playoffs." He had one great season. It happens with a lot of people. They have one great season, and that's it. I think he's just 15, maybe 15 or lower. I'd rank him as a quarterback in this league. No higher.
I would say probably 17 or 18, and I don't understand how people
going down too.
Well, besides obviously Panthers fans, they're always going to be crazy and say Cam Newton is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I think that's more of a loyalty thing than anything. But I just can't keep believing that that he's an elite quarterback because he's not. And speaking of Cam Newton and mobile quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson going into Miami obviously murdered them. He put up 52 points, 59 points. 59 points in that game against quote-unquote mastermind defensive coordinator Brian Flores. He looks like a superstar. I have no problem with saying
not bad for running back.
Like a superstar. Not bad for running back. That's what he said right after his after his game, his performance. He looked like a pure passer. He looked like he worked in his mechanics a ton. The thing is, people have to realize it was the Miami Dolphins. These guys stink. They're terrible. They're not a good football team.
They're not playing for anything. No.
They're not playing for anything. They're tanking. They are tanking for Tua. This team had 7 or 8 of their players, including Minkah Fitzpatrick, the leader of their defense, request a trade because they felt the coaching staff was, quote, not committed to winning long-term or short-term. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson should not have a problem balling out against this team. He was drafted in the first round. This is expected of him. He is supposed to translate this year 2 and ball out against these terrible teams. What I want to see out of Lamar Jackson is a passing-based aerial attack against a good team, a plus 500 team, a team who's consistently been in the playoffs and who has a good defense. When I see that, I will label him a official superstar. He's a week 1 superstar. He's a Madden Ultimate Team superstar right now.
Yeah.
That's what he is right now. He's a Madden Ultimate Team superstar.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw of the Ravens in general was Mark Ingram having a phenomenal game. I saw their O-line block with power, and I saw their defense maintain. They lost a lot of pieces on that defense, and Miami's terrible on offense, but they still maintained. Mm-hmm. This looks like a playoff team. And from what I saw,
I would agree.
And from what I saw from Cleveland on Sunday, that does not look like a playoff team. They play a Monday Night Football against the New York Jets without Sam Darnold. If they lose that game, Cleveland's in trouble. Freddie Kitchens is on the hot seat already. They are in serious trouble. When Marcus Mariota puts 42 points on the board against you, you are in the hot seat already. That should not happen. That definitely should not happen. When Derrick Henry has a 75-yard reception against you, that should not happen.
Yeah.
For all big no-no, Freddie Kitchens is allowed to happen. He's already on the hot seat.
One of the most hyped up teams I mean, especially for the Browns. This is like one of the biggest storylines coming into the year was, the return of the Browns, like they were ever here. But, they were pretty much hyped up to take the division, the AFC North, with the Steelers going downhill. The Bengals, don't even want to talk about them. The Ravens, I think, have a real chance to take that division. The Browns, I mean, obviously week one, it could be just, whatever, just a fluke.
It could be.
I think you'll see an interesting rivalry there. Two young teams, two like on the rise teams, young quarterbacks. I think the Ravens have a real shot. The Ravens have the experience. They got better head coach. I think they got something to prove. A lot of people were saying they're going to see a drop off after a lot of their players left this past year, especially on their defense. I'm expecting a big year from them, personally.
And going off that, the young quarterback storyline, who won last year? Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens beat the Cleveland Browns to keep them out of the playoffs last year. They ended their playoff hopes. C.J. Mosley picked off Baker Mayfield and ended their season.
And what happened with C.J. Mosley?
He left and got money somewhere else.
And what happened to Terrell Suggs? He left. And what happened to I think either two or three more defensive starters for the Ravens left. Zadarius Smith, I think, went to the Packers. And the Ravens got worse and the Browns got better. And what we saw in week one is the Ravens beating the shit out of a team that maybe will win 3 or 4 games. And we saw the Browns lose to a team that, and personally, I don't think they get enough credit. Not on offense, on defense. The Titans are a very well-rounded defensive team
in the league, easily. Yeah.
And they don't get any credit there because when people think of the Titans, they think of their boring offense and Mariota throwing for like $150 a game, maybe rushing for a touchdown. They're like a fringe team for the playoffs this year, especially for the in the AFC South where it was getting weaker. And I'm not ready to say any team is done or toast after even 2 weeks because this is a long NFL season. And you saw what the Browns did when they played Baker last year. They went on that huge winning streak to the end of the year. And it was unfortunate what happened in Week 17, but the Ravens needed it more than the Browns did. So I'm not ready to say that the Ravens are going to be better than the Browns. I'm not a believer in the Ravens at all. I'm not necessarily a believer in Lamar. I think he's good, but I just think the Browns will be better with that type of roster, that personnel. I mean, I know Freddie Kitchens might be on the hot seat already. If they do somehow lose to Trevor Siemian, I don't see it happening. But I don't think it's going to be a culture issue or anything like that towards the end of the year with the Browns. I think eventually we're going to see all of their talent come out. Hopefully on Monday night. I'm rooting for them. I want to see the Brownies do good.
I hope you're right.
Two things real quick. Just to clarify my stance on it. I said Baltimore was a playoff team. I didn't say they were better than Cleveland. I said Freddie Kitchens in the hot seat, not the Browns season. I want to make that very clear. Because obviously the Browns have one of the most talented young rosters. I would say maybe ever. The most talented young rosters. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Baker Mayfield, Odell, Denzel Ward. Like, these are all almost elite players. Myles Garrett.
They're all studs. Yeah.
They're all stars at a very young age. So it's a very impressive collection of talent. And I give more credit to John Dorsey than anybody else. This guy's a smart football guy. But yeah, on the Jets' point, if they lose this game, I'm seriously concerned for the well-being of all Cleveland residents as well as the Browns players themselves. That's like a suicide watch scenario if Trevor Siemian beats you on Monday Night Football in front of primetime television audience. That is concerning. Yeah. Jumping around to another NFL point, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? He threw for 4 touchdowns, I think. Amari Cooper looked sharp as ever. Ezekiel Elliott looked like he had a whole offseason with the team. What are we expecting out of the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm thinking, 10, 11 wins. I think that's a pretty tough division. Not really the Giants and Redskins, but the Eagles are easily one of the best rosters in the NFL. I hope we see a good race between those two teams this year.
The Cowboys have a tough schedule this year. I mean, I expect more of the same from them. 10, 11 wins playoff team. I think they win that division. I think they take the NFC East. I'm not that big of a believer in the Eagles. It's not that they're a bad football team. I just think the Cowboys are more complete. I think they'll win more games. Both teams, being in the NFC East, they have tough schedules this year. Both of the Patriots on their slated games. The Eagles and the Cowboys, I think, each play the Saints and the Rams or the Bears. I mean, I know the Cowboys play all 3 of those teams. It's going to be really tough, and it's going to go down to the wire in the East again, like it always seems to do. It always
does, yeah.
It always does. But just a quick point on your Eagles stance. I understand you're not the biggest Carson Wentz supporter. I am. This guy's an elite. he is an elite NFL talent. He's an elite quarterback talent. And if not for being injured 2 years ago, would have steamrolled through the playoffs, would have won MVP. And I think he's a dark horse MVP candidate this year. Looking up and down at the roster, they have weapons at running back and receiver. Obviously, tight end. Zach Ertz is a top 3 tight end in this league. What I wanted them to do before the season started was to trade for Melvin Gordon, because the thing that team was missing was a dominant running back. Jordan Howard's a fine running back. He gets the job done behind a good O-line. But if you want to make a splash and you want to make a name for yourself and you want to get Super Bowls, you go after the better players. Melvin Gordon would have elevated your team to a whole different level. And we mentioned this the last time. Melvin Gordon's reception ability out of the backfield is very underrated. He had over 50 receptions last year. That adds a lot of versatility to your sets. Doug Peterson is a fiend for mixing in running backs. He loves committees. Melvin Gordon and Jordan Howard committee would be a very nice 1-2 punch for that team. I thought they were going to get Antonio Brown before he was released. I thought the Raiders were going to trade him to Philadelphia. I thought that would have made the most sense. But obviously, I'm happy he's here. I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah, no complaints here.
But when it comes down to it, Dallas has a more talented defense than Philadelphia does. They're younger and they're better. Mm-hmm. Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott.
I'm going to say, yeah, but not by much. I think Dak doesn't get a lot of credit.
I think we're forgetting how good he was. I think it's 2017. I think it was 33 touchdowns in 13 games.
I'm not hating on Dak Prescott.
He was making throws on Sunday that were incredible.
Yeah, I'm not hating on Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is a fine quarterback, but without Ezekiel Elliott, all right, let me pose a scenario to you. Dak Prescott, no Ezekiel Elliott, a whole season. What is his record?
9-7, 8-8.
I mean, yeah, but that's kind of an open-ended question.
Is it an open-ended question, though?
Now, with all the receivers the Cowboys have now, and that offensive line,
that O-line, you could put a lot of people behind that O-line.
Maybe like the 9-7, 10-6, but they'd be like statistically better if they had Zeke.
I think they would win games with Zeke. I think without Zeke, they don't win games.
I disagree. I mean, I think Zeke is, he is, we all know what Zeke is, and you know what he brings to the table every single week. But with that team, you take one player off that team, does it hurt him? Yeah. Does it kill him? No. I still think
it puts them in the grave. I think it puts them 6 feet under. I don't buy it. Dak can carry the team. I don't buy it. I think they go 8-8 with Dak as a quarterback without Ezekiel Elliott.
I think maybe Dak not having an elite running back presence in his backfield would help him flourish as a quarterback, force him to do a good job and try to carry it a little. I mean, we won't. Maybe we'll know if Zeke gets hurt or something, but I don't think we will either way. Obviously,
all right. We'll find out eventually, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will. That's true.
And speaking of Melvin Gordon and speaking of Ezekiel Elliott, the importance of running backs, the Chargers played a phenomenal football game against Indianapolis, and they did not have Melvin Gordon. Austin Eckler balled out. He had a great game. And the Chargers look just as good as they looked last year before, the whooping they took in Foxborough. We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
What are our expectations for the Chargers?
I'm going to cut you off real quick because I want to make a quick point. What you just explained is that the Chargers didn't miss a beat without Melvin Gordon because they have that tandem of Justin Jackson and Eckler having a monster game. Would you say the Cowboys roster in terms of talent is similar to the Chargers roster? Because I think it is.
I would say similar, but let me make myself very clear.
The team, they're going to win plenty of games still.
Let me make myself very clear. Yeah. Phillip Rivers is better than Dak Prescott.
He is.
Phillip Rivers has gone to the playoffs and won deep in the playoffs. He never won the big one. I will grant you that. But he has experience in the playoffs. He knows how to get there, and he's a veteran, seasoned pro. Dak Prescott is technically a veteran now, his 3rd season or 4th season, and he's a good quarterback. But Phillip Rivers is the quarterback's quarterback. He is better than Dak Prescott.
He is.
So that's the difference. That's the whole difference.
I just think people slam on Dak for no apparent reason. I mean, there are worse quarterbacks we can be.
Well, because he's on the Cowboys, so it's part of it.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
I agree. Again, I'm not dishing on Dak. I'm just making sure people realize how talented Carson Wentz is, how talented Phillip Rivers is. And we have to put it in perspective when we all overhype these players after one or two games, or just in general, like we talked about earlier with Cam Newton, after one good season. We have to look at this.
Yeah, you gotta look at it in broad scope as opposed to just one season.
Exactly. And and with the supporting cast or without the supporting cast. I don't want to look towards the playoffs yet. I really don't.
Hard not to. Doesn't matter what we
it's hard not to.
But I think, like we were talking about, I think Philly goes to the playoffs over Dallas. I don't think Dallas makes the playoffs this year. I think Los Angeles goes to the playoffs. The Chargers goes to the playoffs, and the Patriots are going 19-0. Out of all the teams we just talked about, I think they're obviously the most prepared to win a Super Bowl right now.
Oh yeah, always.
So going into Miami this week, where the Patriots have played absolutely terrible for how long we've been dominant? 20 years? For about 20 years,
yeah.
we played terrible in Miami. We've been so bad in Miami over a long period of time. The spread in Vegas is 19 points in favor of the Patriots. Is that too high? Am I crazy for saying that's too high? Because I want to bet on Miami right now for 19.
I don't know. You're looking at a really bad team.
It's a really bad team, but it's 19 points. I really don't think they're gonna throttle them that badly. I just don't see it. I don't get it.
I mean, it's not. I'm not saying it's impossible for the Patriots to cover, but 19 in an NFL game. This looks like a Big 12 game in college football. It's a little disrespectful. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people take the Dolphins. Getting 19
and not even
points,
that.
That's fine. So what if they lose? They're expected to lose. You can still hit that bet if people want to.
Yeah,
it's an easy one. I'd do it.
Miami's been embarrassed. Miami was just utterly embarrassed with a defensive-minded coach that put 59 points on the board week one. Don't you think they're going to be a little pissed off going into this game with a 19-point spread? You don't think they're going to go in pissed off? Ryan Fitzpatrick is probably the best September quarterback of all time. Ryan Fitzpatrick
I can't argue with you there.
He might throw out 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. I really wouldn't be surprised if he went out and balled out and how pissed off. Because I would be pissed off if you got spanked week 1, 59 points with a defensive guru as your head coach. I would be pissed. I would go out there and try to. I was going to say injure Tom Brady, but I wouldn't do that because I'm I don't
want that.
But yeah, I think Miami is surprising people this week. They're still going to lose. I'm not going to say they're going to win. They're still going to lose, but it's not going to be 19 points. It's not going to be 19.
I just think, and it's not the Dolphins. I think the reason it's not going to be by that, we don't win by that much, is because of Belichick. I don't think we do anything crazy this game. I think we see Sonny heavy, and I think we just run the heck out of the ball. Score a few times, maybe go up, maybe score 28, then start to coast. I don't think we go crazy. I don't think we see a lot of Antonio Brown, a lot of Josh Gordon. I think we're just going to run the ball the whole game.
Antonio Brown, maybe a couple of receptions.
I was going to say, I think it's going to be similar to a couple years ago when Michael Floyd joined the team a couple seasons ago. He was a very hyped up person, and he had 3 receptions
back then. Yeah,
3 receptions for a touchdown. I think that was a stat in the huge block against.
I was at that game.
And that was awesome to see too. But I think it's gonna be a similar type game, and this is a hard playbook to learn. I've seen literally only 2 receivers join without a full off season and successfully master it. I've seen Randy Moss, and I've seen Josh Gordon. Those are the only 2 receivers I can think of that actually made an impact that season, joining without a full off season of playbook study.
Yeah, and I think Josh Gordon is only going to get better, too. Even with Antonio Brown joining here, he's going to be way more efficient. Less receptions, more yards, in my opinion. He had 700 by the time he took his leave of absence last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now we got him for all 16 games. Already has a touchdown on there. Yeah, he's going to have both. I mean, everyone in the past is going to have a very solid.
It's kind of crazy to think about, too, because he had, 19 yards of reception last season? And we're talking about more yards and less receptions. That's only going to go up. That's kind of unbelievable to think about when you have Antonio Brown cutting underneath Josh Gordon on a deep route. What's going to happen? I literally don't understand what's going to go through defensive coordinators' minds unless they just blitz the shit out of Tom Brady and try to take him out of the game. That's literally the only thing I
He's
can
the
think
best
of.
against the blitz, so we'll see what happens.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're stuck,
You
they're
can't.
stuck in the hole there.
What are you gonna do?
They're just stuck. But I wanted to ask you guys what games caught your eye on the schedule this week, and what you're looking forward to the most come week 2.
Well, for me, it's the big game of the week is obviously the Sunday night game, Atlanta and Philadelphia. This is a game where I think we find out what the whole dilemma of the Atlanta Falcons is. Just an abomination of a game week 1. Their defense.
They got spanked week 1. They got spanked.
All healthy and everyone's back and players are re-signed. Deion Jones is back, Keanu Neal's back, and all these guys are back. And then Dalvin Cook and that Alex Madison guy and whoever they have there in Minnesota, they just ran the shit out of the ball. Like Kirk threw 10 passes the whole game and they flattened him. So it's time to see if the Falcons can rebound against the Eagles. The Eagles are a lot tougher team than the Vikings, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I'll say myself. I've been a believer in the Falcons since we all know what happened a few years ago in the Super Bowl.
What happened a few years ago? I'm forgetting. What happened a couple years ago?
I'll tell you about it.
Didn't they blow a lead or something?
It was a small lead.
It was a small lead.
But I personally thought the Falcons were going to go back to the Super Bowl. They didn't, obviously. But you're looking at a team that had like one of the, I'd say, top 3 offenses of all time a few years ago. And since then, they've struggled to make any noise in the playoffs. They haven't really gotten anywhere. They haven't lived up to expectations. Or obviously, they had a lot of injuries last year. Their defense was so many starters hurt. If they can win this game against the Eagles, I think it'll be not only good to prove themselves, but I think it's something they need themselves for their morale. Because you lose a game like that, you're like,
and a couple more things based off of that point. One, not a big Matt Ryan guy. I'm just not. Matty Ice never really did it for me. I mean, he's a solid, productive quarterback, but I don't really think he's anything special without a lot of weapons around him and a good defense. But that's just me. And on your injury point, Devontae Freeman's been injured for the last 2 seasons, in and out over the last 2 seasons. He's had no consistency playing. This year might be the year he finally gets that consistency and take that a step forward and actually be the running back that Atlanta's paying him to be. Because he's getting paid a lot of money.
A lot of money.
He's the contract that set Le'Veon Bell's contract up. He literally set the running back market, which is crazy because he's not that good. Like he's good, but he's not like that good. Like he's not worth the money they're paying him unless he takes the step.
I wanted them to re-sign Tevin Coleman. It's cheaper, and your offense could be just as efficient if Freeman's going to miss 5 games a year.
Right. And so I'm going to go on to my 2 games to watch this Sunday. Chiefs and Raiders. Doesn't sound exciting. Sounds like the Chiefs are going to spank them. I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
Oakland
I can't agree with either of you.
Oakland
I don't care if they don't have Tyreek.
No. Oakland played Monday Night Football and won. John Gruden got his first win back after his, 12-year hiatus from coaching. Derek Carr's pissed off, and I would be too if my number 1 receiver threw a fit and unfollowed me and then left to go to the Patriots. I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah, that would do it for me.
I think that I don't want to say the Raiders are going to win this game, but I really would not be shocked if Derek Carr beats Patrick Mahomes just mano-a-mano, offensive shootout, and Derek Carr wins. I would not be shocked by that.
I think the Chiefs beat him 38-10.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be close.
I guess we'll have to see. But another game to watch.
Did you see what he did to the Jaguars defense last week?
I saw. You see what Derek Carr did to that defense last week?
Yeah, he had a lot of completions and a minimal, maybe 250 yards and a touchdown. He was very efficient.
I would be
in a game where he just didn't need to make a mistake. Garbage.
Yeah, but I will say out of that Raiders team, Jacobs looks phenomenal. Jacobs looks really good.
He does.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Looks like a workhorse.
But the second game I wanted to mention. Rematch, Saints and Rams. NFC Championship game. The infamous no call on the pass interference. Now they can challenge it. Good news. Bad news, a year too late. Saints and Rams, offensive shootout. I think it's the Saints because I think Drew Brees is that much better than Jared Goff. I think Alvin Kamara is that much better than Todd Gurley because he is in shambles. I don't even think he's going to he split carries with that rookie they had. Who is their rookie? The running back they drafted.
Who?
On the Rams.
Darrell Henderson? I think that's
Daryl Henderson, whoever his name is, he split carries with Todd Gurley because he can't sustain. He can't be a workhorse anymore. They said it in the offseason. Kamara is better than Gurley. Breeze is better than Goff. Thomas is better than
Thomas
Cooks.
is better than anyone else. Yeah.
Michael Thomas is better than their whole receiving core. It just comes down to who has better players, and the Saints just have better players. I mean, I would probably say that McVay is a better coach than Peyton, but that's about it. That's really the only advantage they have.
Well, Aaron Donald too.
Yeah, I forgot about that guy.
He's all right. I mean, like, you know how I feel about Jared Goff. Like I said, name one thing Jared Goff stands out as.
You can't.
So,
I give up.
I mean, I think it could go either.
30-yard play action
go
pass
either way.
to Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, who's gonna be scared of Daryl Henderson running the ball on a play action? Nobody. Absolutely
exactly.
nobody. It's not gonna work. Nobody's threatened by this kid at all. So, like,
I think the Saints are pissed off. They want to show what should have happened last year. So,
I mean, to the Rams' credit, the Saints didn't finish the game. They got an OT.
No, they had a chance. I don't feel sorry for them. They had their chance in overtime.
Yeah, and they blew it. So I'm not really going to defend the Saints in this whole revenge tour because they don't really have a right to be on a revenge tour because they lost the game regardless. You had a chance to win. They righted the ship. They had the ball first in overtime with Drew fucking Brees, and they did nothing.
Yeah.
So that's all I had to say. They did nothing with it.
Another game to watch, I think, long-time division rivals, Vikings-Packers. Packers coming off, like, obviously they got the win against the Bears, but kind of a disappointing week one. You know, not a lot of offense. Not what we were expecting to see, even against that stout Bears defense. And the Vikings, Dalvin Cook, injury-prone, but he looks pretty good this year. I think you'll see a tight division race this year if both teams are able to perform the way they should be, the way that they're able to, rather. 1 o'clock game, I think it's going to be a good one.
I feel like the Vikings fell off a cliff reputation-wise so much because when Kirk Cousins went there last offseason, it was probably one of the most hyped teams in recent memory. It was on par with what Cleveland is now because all Minnesota was missing the year previous to him signing was a quarterback. And then Kirk Cousins comes in, signs a huge contract, and everybody thought they were going to be the balls, but they weren't.
Or so they thought they needed a quarterback. Case Keenum did win them 13 games.
I guess so. And Kirk
Their defense won them 13 games. Case Keenum was
there. Fair enough.
Case Keenum was okay.
Yeah.
But he won. And Kirk hasn't won the big one yet. Any big game ever.
Any big game ever. You know what Joe and I think about that.
Yeah. What's his record with teams against 500 records?
I don't know. It's definitely like 1 for 8.
It's really bad. No, it's really. I don't know what the actual statistic is, but it's really bad. Like
I believe in him, man. Eventually.
Just a fun fact for you guys. A fun fact for you guys watching: the name of our fantasy league is Kirk Cousins' ass. All caps.
Even though he's just not, though. He's not ass. Like I said, there's a trillion different quarterbacks. You can name it Blaine Gabbert his ass. You can name it Josh Rosen his ass for all I care. Kirk's good.
They're not going to pay $30 million, are they?
No, they aren't.
They don't have money. Exactly.
All right. Well, I think that's going to conclude our podcast today. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be doing this on a more consistent basis over the next couple months. Every week is what we're aiming for, and hopefully we add another 1 or 2 people, maybe even a surprise guest by a former Super Bowl champion. We'll keep you updated on that as talks continue. But thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.